If everything had gone for him the way it went for Patrick Mahomes, what would Darnold be? And conversely, if Patrick Mahomes had been drafted into the exact circumstances that Sam Darnold has, that team, that coaching, that talent around him, that just caliber of total organizational dysfunction, what would he be today? Those are my questions to you, Marcus. What do you think?
Sam Darnold would absolutely be a franchise quarterback. That's number one. Secondly, I think Patrick Mahomes' talent, he'd be fine, but it's also one of those situations where, gee, you know how it is, man. Like, we got a great idea of Patrick Mahomes, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's with Andy Reid. And, I know I've been very critical of Gates, but I've been critical of Gates because I know exactly what a good coach does for a player. Like, I've had the opportunity to play for great coaches, man. And the fact that Sam Darnold has been in a situation in New York, not only just from an Adam Gase standpoint, from a talent standpoint. And granted, like, I got to give some credence to the fact that these guys have been injured. And we saw last night with Flacco against New England that Perriman made a difference in Mims and having all of those guys at the same time. But, man, Sam Darnold's been dealt a raw deal. And I think that's what you're getting at. I think you're getting at the fact that he has been in a situation as a young quarterback where the talent is sufficient, but he's been surrounded by people that don't know how to use it effectively. And it's just disappointing, man. I mean, we talked about Patrick Mahomes, and people like Patrick Mahomes been sitting out for this extended period. I mean, playing this extended period of time without us. Like, no one acknowledges that, and I'm glad you brought up that fact that Patrick Mahomes actually had time to sit behind Alex Smith and see what a year would be like with Andy Reid, and really understand like the nature of the NFL and the things you have to do in order to be successful. So a lot of it has been obviously his circumstance, but a lot of it has been the fact that it's a franchise and an organization that's competent. And I think that's exactly what you get there.
Absolutely. I forget now if it was Jeff or Greg who said this morning, every player in the NFL to some degree is a system player. Like, you're either in a good situation, you're in a bad situation. You're either in a place where they are doing the most to take advantage of your skill set, or they're not. And look, we've talked a lot about Mitchell Trubisky. Now, maybe, I'm going to use this as an example so everyone doesn't think I'm just talking about Sam Darnold because I like him and this is the team that I pay closest attention to. Maybe Mitchell Trubisky was never going to be a good player no matter what happened. Maybe everybody was totally wrong on him. But a lot of other teams would have taken him roughly where he went in the draft that year. A lot of other teams had him rated higher. I remember I hosted the coverage around that draft that year. A lot of teams had him rated higher than Deshaun Watson, and no one was talking about Patrick Mahomes going ahead of him at all leading into that draft. So maybe Mitchell Trubisky just isn't any good, and he never would have been. But I think the likelier possibility is that had he been put into the right situation with the right people around him and they had used him in the right way and everything had been good, that he would have found a way to succeed rather than being where he is now. Do you follow what I'm saying? There's an element of system player to basically everyone in the NFL because everyone is so dependent on everybody else.
Gee, listen, this, like, to that point with Trubisky, that's what's so perplexing. Like, Matt Nagy knew what Mitch Trubisky's strength was, right? Athletic, try to create an offense around it. We see Lamar Jackson. How much have we talked about the Ravens and complimented them about how they built a system and a scheme and surrounded Lamar Jackson with the best type of players? I think it's only fair to judge from that standpoint, especially when you're talking about quarterbacks. Because a lot of times, man, these guys are put in the situations where they don't have everything working for them, and you can't compare them. when everything is not right. You just can't do it. And if you do a disservice to the game because, let me give you an example. I left LSU as a 4-3 defensive end, played in Nick Saban's system, right? And it was I sacked the quarterback a lot in college, and I did a lot of things that were super successful. And then I got to the Dallas Cowboys with Bill Parcells, and we went to a 3-4. I wasn't getting sacks. I wasn't doing all of the things that I was doing at LSU. And people used to, oh man, you ain't what we drafted you to be in terrible. But understanding how important it is, man, to put guys in the situation to be successful. You know me, I'm hard on players, I'm hard on coaches. But it's tough for me to sit here and say Sam Darnold is not a good quarterback or doesn't have the potential to be a really good quarterback because he's been under Gase, man, and he's been devoid of talent. And Mitchell Trubisky in a situation where Matt Nagy has not built an offense to conform to what he does successfully. So it's all relative. Look at Deshaun Watson. You remember how crazy I went when they traded DeAndre Hopkins?
Sure.
Because that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to give these young quarterbacks every possible opportunity. Watch what Miami does in the draft. Watch what they do. Watch what look what Arizona did in the trade for Kyler Murray. Watch what Cincinnati does if they're smart now that they got Joe Burrow. Justin Herbert. Watch what these teams do, right? We've been killing Green Bay because of Aaron Rodgers and not drafting him receivers and realizing that he may be a big play guy away or another weapon away from winning the Super Bowl. You can't say that about Chicago, and you damn sure can't say that about the Jets.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.